Hello and welcome. This is Dave Michaels from Talking Points. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I wanted to talk to Spectralink because they came out with some new fangled device thing, whatever, and it caught my interest. And so we're going to meet here with a gentleman named Nick Muir, who is the general manager of Spectralink EMEA, which is, of course, Europe is where everything important happens, particularly in tech, which is one of my first questions. So without any further ado, let's bring in Nick. Hello, Nick. How you doing?
Hey, Dave, how are you? I'm very well, thank you.
You don't sound very British. Can't you say like something a little more British?
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Okay, that'll work. That'll work.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so Nick, I don't know about you, but I have been to Spectralink World Headquarters. I was there when it was in Boulder, and the CEO was a Danish gentleman. It's changed hands a few times. Actually, Spectralink's changed hands a number of times. You were at one point part of Polycom briefly, went independent, and then I don't know who the current CEO is. So first off, why don't you just give us a brief intro to Spectralink and also who the current leadership is?
So, I'll go in reverse order, Dave. So the current leader is a guy called Doug Working. Doug used to run the investment arm of the company that looked after Spectralink from a financial perspective. And Doug launched a buyout not so long ago with a team of management, and the rest is history, as they say. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we're all retained still. We still have this whole European angle, particularly around IP DECT, as you've already kind of alluded
Yes,
to.
yes.
Um,
The masters of IP DECT.
yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
we've been doing that for a long time now, I think, and 35 years of history in a town called Horsens in Denmark.
Yes. Yes. You guys were one of the pioneers. I've been a fan of Spectralink for a long time, which is why when I lived in Boulder, I was so excited to go down to 55th Street and visit Worldwide headquarters. I thought that was great. But now you're in Louisville address. I actually lived between Boulder and Louisville, so you're obviously in the same basic area, and so that's great. So let's get into what you just announced. Well, actually, one more question before that, because we touched on this. Why is DECT technology, which is a wireless technology, particularly good for voice, why is DECT technology so much more popular in Europe than the US? I know it's getting more popular in the US, but why is it so much more popular in Europe? Do you have an opinion on that?
I generally, I don't know, and we ask ourselves this question quite a bit because, as you know, Spectralink has two distinct areas of operations: the Americas and Europe. And you're right, we do much better, or our market share seems to be higher in Europe with DECT than it does in the USA. I don't know if that's because DECT was largely developed across Europe and therefore adopted that way. I don't know.
Just a couple of quick alternatives. You could use Bluetooth, but Bluetooth doesn't have anywhere near the range of DECT, and so Bluetooth is great if you're at your desk and you want to talk to your laptop with your headset. That's fantastic. Or headset. Yeah, headsets are great. And then you could use Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi, of course, could be campus-wide, and a lot of organizations have campus-wide Wi-Fi, but they tend to be battery hogs. They tend to use up a lot of energy on your devices. And DECT is kind of like the best of both, in my opinion. Is that a fair description?
I think that's fair enough as well. It's also true to say that when you're using Wi-Fi, your voice has to compete with a whole load of other bandwidth loading, and with IP DECT, that's not the case.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's get into some of these details of what you announced here. So you announced something called the S1000, and it's confusing in your press release. Is the S1000 a platform or a product or a device? What is the S1000?
Well, it's a product, but it acts as a platform. It's a device as well. Essentially, the thinking behind it is this. So we've been selling IP DECT for a very long time, and we know ourselves that it can be complex. This is one of the barriers to entry in a marketplace. If you don't have the expertise, it's tough to install properly. But we finally found a way of making that whole thing simple. whilst retaining that traditional Spectralink quality. So that idea was one that was percolating with us for some time now, and it's only recently that we've managed to bring it into full fruition, if you like. This idea of operational simplicity, commercial simplicity, future-proof technology, all bundled up in that Spectralink quality, but designed specifically for, I guess, mission-critical environments.
So what did you say earlier? You said Spectralink is like 30 years old. So it took 30 years to create this, is what you're saying? Is that?
I think maybe not. So the joy of this is, particularly as UC has gained popularity and DECT has kind of moved from being on-prem and into the cloud. That's kind of it's come along naturally, but we've pushed it along faster, having seen how those two things mesh together so well.
Okay, so clarify again. Is it device or is it hardware? And what do you buy when you buy an S1000?
Well, you get three things. So you get the base station and the server in one. You get some handsets, and then you get an AMI platform to run it with. So it is in effect all three things.
Okay, and these handsets, they work on some unknown phone system that you guys probably have a proprietary phone system on, or is it other brands?
No, so we run Linux. All of our IP DECT runs on Linux. It's good for another 15 years of security patches, of technology advances.
No. Yes, I'm talking about your phone systems. What phone systems does this thing work with? I just stumped there. I know. Yeah. I saw Teams, Microsoft Teams in the press release, but okay.
Yeah, so we work with everything. So if you run Zoom now, but you want to move to Teams, then you can invest in Spectralink now, and it will still run Teams when you want to switch, or vice versa.
So it's a basic SIP endpoint, is what you're saying.
Absolutely right. We are good for at this moment in time. We're good for Teams, Zoom, 8x8, Ring Central, all of them.
All right. Try to keep up, Nick. The questions get harder as we go along here. So, okay. So you've got this solution here, and the other thing you talked about in that press release, and a lot of companies are doing this lately, but they have mean different things. But you talked about frontline employees. Now, when you talk about frontline employees, what are you talking about? First off.
So the easiest way that I find to picture that in my head is when the carpet stops, that's where frontline starts. So they're the people at the front of the organization delivering at the pointy end. So, for example, they could be healthcare workers, they could be industrial, they could be retail, warehousing, logistics. Those people at the pointy end of a business that usually don't have screen access to the communication system your company uses.
Okay, and you think that these people are underserved? Is that correct? And you think you want to fix that?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. So there are two problems facing those staff in terms of critical frontline staff, and they kind of overlap. So one is safety, and the other is the availability of communication. So more and more now, we'll start with safety first. I was reading a really interesting note from Gartner, and I looked at your Magic Quadrant podcast from October last year, I want to say. And Gartner has predicted a while back that worker safety would be a really, really big thing come about now. And so it is. If we look at some of the recent developments in the USA, we have got a lot of really strong desire to make sure that a company's workers are safe and secure in whatever environment they happen to be in. And usually it's the frontline, the mission critical workers that are most at risk. So,
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So a lot of companies are talking about better serving frontline employees. So you don't really need to do anything. It's already been solved. What do you think? What do you think Spectralink is bringing to the table? Well, actually, you don't have a table. Maybe table is the wrong metaphor with frontline workers. What are you bringing in the lunch bag?
So nobody does this very well, and that's part of the I guess part of the attraction of doing it. We do this much better than anybody else, and the reason why we do it better than anybody else is because it's challenging to put UC and Microsoft Teams into that frontline environment. From a technical perspective, it's tough, and we can do stuff around Microsoft that nobody else can. For example, in terms of that vertical integration, Microsoft dominates the office space, but what happens when you're no longer in the office and you're outside? The challenge here is being able to deliver those verticalized solutions that integrate directly onto MS Teams platforms. So we started, for example, with Microsoft with OCS, we've done Link, we've done Skype, and now we're into Teams. And what we can provide with vertical integration are solutions like man down, duress button, rugged options, water and dust protection, messaging and alerting with accurate location services. These things are game changers, and nobody else can do this apart from us.
Excellent. So does your phone have specialized buttons for things like I don't know, for some of the examples you gave, or is it a normal handset and these capabilities are just kind of built in, can detect whether somebody fell down or something?
Well, it has programmable buttons, and the drive for that particularly is being able to set the phone up so that it serves whatever the needs of your frontline workers are. That's the key for all this. It doesn't come with specialized buttons per se, although there are buttons on the phone that you can configure to work in this way.
Okay. Now, if you is the problem solved? Are you guys getting rid of all your R&D? Like, we've nailed it, we're done, or do you have more of a roadmap ahead of where this thing might go, or can you give us a hint of future evolution of where we're going with this?
No, so we do a lot of work both with Microsoft and other UC platforms, but also, I mean, a lot of this is around standalone pressure that exists. So, for example, we've got Carey's law in the USA. That law dictates that you can dial 911 directly without needing a prefix. So we support that. And we could dial 911 using Microsoft Teams integration, which is what's so important here. And that alert notification workflow is configurable with whatever environment you're in. At the same time, there's another one. I want to say Ray Baum's Act. So that mandates that you can have, when you put in an emergency call, there's a dispatchable location. So that dispatchable location might include a floor or a room or a zone of a building that you're in. And we can do that again with dynamic location with Microsoft Teams. And again, unique. But
I'm very impressed you knew those laws for a European. Those are American laws. Do you have similar laws like that in UK?
Not so much, actually. It doesn't mean that the need isn't there, but we don't have those laws in the same way that they've emerged in the US.
But even if you did have Carey's law, I guess you wouldn't dial 911. You'd dial something else.
999, but the same process still applies. You can still dial that without needing a prefix for it.
I never liked the 999 thing because I'm an old school guy and I keep a rotary phones. And if it's an emergency, I don't have time to dial 9 3 times. It's just like they'll pick the longest, slowest number on the dial pad. But that's why you don't have the law. That's why they don't have it. Very smart.
It's true. I never even thought. I remember the rotary dial phones, and yeah, you're right about the 999 thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think they were configured in the end, so 1 took longest and 9 was quickest. But
so where are these devices sold? You could pop into a local Radio Shack. Oh, they're gone. Where do you get these devices?
Well, we're a channel company, so we don't sell them direct, but you can pick them up from distribution, from resale, particularly those that are invested in UC. They're very much, they're shipping now as well, Dave. So they're ready to go right now.
Worldwide or where?
Worldwide. The beauty of the S1000 is it's one SKU anywhere in the world. No differences anywhere. Just the same thing.
What? The S1000, it should be 1,000 SKUs. It should have been the S1. Should have been called the S1 with 1 SKU. Why don't you guys call me when you need marketing?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to get your number on speed dial, Dave, and we'll sort that out.
The speed dial. Okay. Well, I think that covers what I wanted to cover. Did we cover everything you wanted to cover?
Well, it depends, Dave. Do you want to talk about how you see architecture developing? Do you have a view in terms of how's this going to develop over time, where it's going to go, industry trends. Do you want to talk about that, or how are you feeling?
Well, I want to kind of go back. If anything, I just want to touch a little bit more on the DECT technology, because DECT's been there for a long time, and it seems to be so much more popular in Europe, and it seems to really prove itself in Europe on a regular basis. And I'm just really curious if you see that changing in North America, in the U.S., or is the U.S. just doubling down on no, we prefer inferior technology?
Well, one of the trends that's definitely coming up is this idea of fail-safe. So we talked briefly about worker safety, but there's also, how do you measure company safety? And what I mean by that is, what happens when your Microsoft Teams system on Wi-Fi goes down? You're left without voice. There is no backup. Whereas IP DECT systems are immune to that. It's always there as a fail-safe, no matter what happens to your standard Teams system. We're still connected, not just connected, but connected to Teams as well.
And do these phones have headsets?
They do. They're compatible with headsets, yes.
And is the headset DECT or Bluetooth? That's an interesting. I'm now. It's a good question.
Well, so that depends. I mean, there are both out there, and it depends on the level of integration you want to chase down. Push to talk is the big thing that I see coming up soon. Particularly useful in retail, in healthcare as well. So we'll see that emerging fairly shortly, I think.
All right. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and I want to thank you very much for joining me and answering these questions. Wish you best of luck with the product, and we'll do another conversation when you get to the S1001.
Thank you very much, Dave. And if you want to drop into Louisville, just let us know.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks. Cheers.